It is now 6:34 p.m. on Wednesday, June 14th. This is the meeting of the Select Board. I'm calling this meeting to order. The meeting is being broadcast live via Natick Pegasus and recorded for future viewing. Thanks to Pegasus for broadcasting and recording it. We're also being recorded on Zoom. We eventually will be recorded on Zoom. We don't do that anymore? Well, I'll be darned. Okay. Good. That's what happens when I don't edit. Okay. So at this time, I'm going to review topics for the board to consider going into executive session. Item A, approve executive session minutes from May 24th, 2023 and May 31st, 2023. A, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public body. 5 Auburn Street Development Agreement. Item B, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. I remember that now. Never mind. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, 5 Auburn Street Development Agreement. C, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, the chair declares that an open. Why do I have that twice? I'm sorry, I apologize for that one. Item C, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 31A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Trustees of Boston University versus Natick, CA number 2281 CV 3404 in Middlesex Superior Court. Item D, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Justin George versus the Town of Natick Fire Department, MCAD docket number 21, BEM 01327/EEOC docket number 16C-2021-10261, and I so declare. Okay. So that's moved by Rich. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so that's moving, Catherine seconding, and I have to do the voice. Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Ms. Coughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Sidney?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So we will now going to enter executive session, which will not be open with the to the public. We'll be back in open session approximately 7:30. Might be a little bit later. At that time, we'll continue with the public session. Executive session and returning to open session. Before we begin, will those of you in the meeting please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Those serving on our behalf. Been helpful. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks. Okay, moving on to announcements. Over to you, Jamie.
So
So one of the first announcements is a introduction to one of our newest staff members, if not our newest staff member, to the team in Natick, and that is Troy Smith, our Director of Equity, Inclusion, and Outreach. And Troy is with us tonight. He's already jumping in and actually has another commitment to get to right now, so I'm going to ask him to very briefly just introduce himself to the board, to the community who might be watching, maybe say brief words about himself if you want to, whatever you want, willing to share. This is public, so be mindful of that. While he's walking up, I just want to say that we are extremely excited to have Troy. He joined the team about 2 weeks ago, and he's been getting out, meeting people, learning the departments. He attended his first department head meeting this week, and he's been a great addition to the team, and we're excited to have him on board to start the valuable work that we're going to be doing with Troy in his role.
Thank you, James. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I am so happy and so excited for day 11. Can you believe it? It goes quickly, but I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's been wonderful just considering the work that I'm going to be doing, but also just an opportunity to meet the community members. People have been generous in time, spirit, and I've been feeling very welcome. I've had a chance to go to a lot of wonderful local restaurants, so they've been wonderful. And so for me, being here feels like a real chance to fulfill some dreams that I've had for a long time. My personal mission, professionally and personally, has been to build community and to facilitate personal empowerment, to create opportunities where people can come together despite their differences, but also being able to acknowledge their similarities and being able to help individuals to reach their full potential. That's was what drove my work as a professor, and it's what brings me here. And I'm just so happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with folks in community. One of the standards that I really believe in was said many years ago by the chairman of my department at North Shore Community College, Tom Wisby, the late Tom Wisby. He had a card, and it said, "Make diversity a value, not an issue." And I've carried that with me for decades. And I believe that diversity is at the core of who we are as individuals and as a country. And we have to be able to tap into that. And from there, we're able to build. We're able to build community, and we're able to create opportunities where all people can succeed. And I'm happy to be a part of Team Natick. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you.
So I did mention that Troy has another engagement. He's actually going to the library where there's some Speak Out, which is it's because of Pride Month. So I wanted to make sure that Troy gets a chance to go over there, because it's going to be ending around 9 o'clock or 8:45. So if he exits while you're talking, just know that he's doing his work. He's going across the way.
By all means, welcome, Troy. It's good to have you on board.
My pleasure. Yes, yes. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you. Very good to have you.
Welcome, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's all right. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Troy. Take care.
All right. All right, Jamie, I think you've got the next one, the Route 9 and Route 27 design hearing.
Certainly, and I'll be brief because there's more information on the website, and I want to get to the meeting in Novus agenda, and actually our website and on the MassDOT website. MassDOT is hosting their design public hearing. This is a required part of their process when they get to a certain point in design. But it's for the 9 and 27 interchange project. This is a very, very significant project for the community. It's been a long time in the design. It's actually, I think, design 3 or 4 that we've seen as a community. And I encourage any and all who are interested or who are impacted or who want to just know more about the 927 interchange to attend that public meeting, public hearing. It's scheduled for tomorrow night, Thursday, starting at 7, I believe, 7:30. 7 o'clock, and it is a virtual meeting, so information is in Novus. You can sign up, or if you even just Google search 927 Mass DOT, you can get to the Mass DOT page, and you can get to the link that you need to log into the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, we'll move on to public speak. Public speak is,
More announcements?
okay. I thought we were doing that in select board updates, but yes, let's do that right here. Okay, let's start from left to right. Let's go to Mr. Joseph first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make an announcement on behalf of Natick 180. The town of Natick had received a commitment of settlement funds that were associated with the opioid settlement that was established at the state level. I guess the Commonwealth distributed the settlement monies to each municipality. Do you know the exact figure, or?
It's still moving, and it's different ones are appropriated differently based on the annual versus over a certain amount of time.
Gotcha.
We're in the $700,000 to $800,000 range over
a
the
period
next
of time.
period of time.
Right,
Correct.
right. Thank you. And so given that, Natick 180 and their executive director, Katie Sugarman, had asked us to convey that there will be listening sessions for the community, basically soliciting feedback in terms of how we might best spend some of those monies. One of those listening sessions will be Monday, June 26th at 6:30 p.m., and that will be virtual. And on Tuesday, June 27th at 5:30 p.m. in the Great Room at the Community Senior Center, there will also be an in-person one. Folks who want more information can go to the town's website, and under the news flash area, you'll find information about those listening sessions, or alternatively, you may email Natick 180 at natick180@natickma.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Ms. Pope.
Thank you, Bruce. Mr. Evans, Chair Evans, thank you. I want to give a rundown on the list of events for Juneteenth, which is Monday, June 19th. The Natick Historical Society and Natick for Black Lives Matter will host the reading of Frederick Douglass' What to a Slave is the 4th of July at 10 a.m. on the steps of the Morris Institute Library. The celebration continues with the Natick Center Cultural District's Juneteenth event on the Natick Commons starting at 1 o'clock. That goes to 4 p.m. The event will include speakers with performances by the Drum Nomads, Crocodile River Music, Slowboat, and Squeeze Box Stompers. There will be activities and food. ASL interpreting services by the Learning Center for the Deaf, and which will be funded by a grant from the Middlesex Savings Bank. At 6:30 p.m., the film Black in Black by local director and Natick resident Zaidi Zauku will be shown at the Common Street Spiritual Center. And then earlier that morning, Coffee with a Purpose will be hosting Bishop Frank E. Kelly as their featured speaker at 9 a.m. And typically they end around 10:30 or so, but to make accommodations for the Frederick Douglass reading, they'll be ending, I want to say right before 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pope. And Ms. Coughlin has a couple.
I wanted to announce that the dedication of Eddie's Park, our dog park, will be held on June 25th at 10 a.m. Parking will be at the VFW at 113 West Central Street. They're expecting about 200 people. So if it does rain, it'll be held inside the VFW. The park is located at the end of Middlesex Path, which is 109 West Central Street in Natick. The dog park opened in September of 2020, and this has been the first time since the pandemic ended that Glenn and Allison Kramer have been able to organize a formal dedication. The park is named after their son who died very young. And so if you'd like to attend, please park at the VFW next door and join us at 10 o'clock for the dedication. The second announcement is here somewhere. Here it is. This Saturday at 11 a.m., the Natick's new outdoor reading rooms. This will be the second celebration of the local 2 temporary outdoor reading rooms on the front lawn of the Morse Institute Library. These are outdoor reading rooms where anybody can sit and read. No library card is needed. And our chair, Bruce Evans, will be speaking. So if you want to stop by Morse and check out all the artwork and the new chairs and the really neat places to sit, that would be a lovely way to spend your Saturday.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Scott.
you.
Mr. Sidney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On June 14th, 1777, the Continental Congress approved the design of a national flag. Since 1916, when President Woodrow Wilson issued a presidential proclamation establishing a National Flag Day on June 14th, Americans have commemorated the adoption of the Stars and Stripes in many ways, displaying the flag in front of their homes, parades, and other patriotic observances. Prior to 1916, many localities and a few states had been celebrating the day for years. Congressional legislation designating that date as the National Flag Day was signed into law by President Harry Truman in 1949. The legislation also called upon the President to issue a Flag Day proclamation every year. Today is Flag Day, today is the day I usually replace my flag, and I realized that not a lot of people know how to get rid of an old, worn-out flag. The proper way to dispose of a worn-out flag is by a ceremonial burning. Well, most of us don't know how to do that. So the VFW up on West Central Street is more than happy to accept your flags and does a periodic ceremonial burning of all the worn flags. I spoke to the commander up there, and they are excited to receive flags from anybody who wants to drop them off. Just take them in and hand them off, and they'll take care of the proper disposal.
Thank you, Mr. Sidney. I've got a few myself. The first is one that I always enjoy talking about, which is Scoopapalooza, which is an ice cream event on Natick Common that will be held. It's sponsored by the Rotary, and it's held on June 24th, 2023, from 11:30 to 3 p.m. The rain date is on the following day, Sunday, the 25th, at the same time. That is one. Next is the sponsored by the Natick Center Cultural District, which is Natick Nights, which is food, shopping, music, fun, from 5 to 7:30 p.m. The Adams Street Art Alley features beer, wine, food, and music on June 1st, 15th, 29th, and July 13th and 27th. So be there. That's this Thursday night. Yes, the 15th. Lastly, as part of our ongoing community outreach, I'll be at the Natick Farmers Market from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Saturday, the 17th. I'm altering the hours slightly this week because there are several different events in town that morning and I need to attend. So please stop by and chat. We began this as a pilot, and we have found that it's been very fruitful to have discussions with community members in an informal setting rather than them coming to us at Town Hall or the Community Senior Center. So please drop by. And I will go around. Last call for announcements. Nope. All right, moving along. Okay. So now I will go to public speak. Any individual may raise an issue that's not included on the agenda, and it will be taken under advisement by the board. There will be no opportunity for debate during this part of the meeting. This section is limited to 15 minutes, and any one individual cannot speak for more than 5 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to speak in public speak? I do not see anybody in the room or on Zoom. Does anybody else? Okay. Let's move on to discussion and decisions. First up, sorry.
There was
Oh, yes, I skipped over that. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I went right by that. Sorry about that. Let's move back to appointments, and this is an interview for appointment to the Natick Cultural Council in Eggleston. And we received your resume and your application, so if you'd like to go up to the podium and please introduce yourself and tell us why you'd like to be on the Natick Cultural Council.
Sure. My name's Ann Eggleston. I've lived in Natick just shy of 7 years now. From Massachusetts, but then I lived in Los Angeles for 25 years. So I have loved and been a part of art communities since I was a child. I went to Tufts University, and I had a double major in sociology and art studies, which was a self-designed major, which includes studio art, art history, and museum studies. And then I went and worked at the Harvard University Art Museums and the Institute of Contemporary Art before moving to Los Angeles, where I worked at the Newport Harbor Art Museum, the Long Beach Museum of Art, and my background is in development and advancement and external relations, so I always worked doing that, and then I switched to education.
Springvale. There is a little piping work to do up there. Filter media has to be brought in and backwashed, and they should be online by mid-July, which is good news. That will give us additional PFAS filtered water capacity in a nice time. We had a challenge last week with Elm Bank. If you remember, Elm Bank usage is restricted by the flow of the Charles River. And last week, we actually hit that flow restriction and weren't allowed to pump out of Elm Bank. Luckily, we didn't have the volumes townwide that caused a problem, but it's just to highlight that Elm Bank is not a stable water source for us. So bringing that capacity on in Springvale is really important. And it also tees up our next discussion, which will be in front of you in about a month, to talk about our master planning in our 55-year plan, which kind of wraps all of those things together. So those are our updates.
Well, thank you, Mr. Spratt.
Thank you.
Questions from the board? Oh, great, concise update. Mr. Sidney, you have something on
Yeah,
pink bags?
there's been a bunch of talk on Facebook, and I've experienced this myself. Simple Recycling is not picking up pink bags on recycling day anymore. In fact, you don't even need the pink bags anymore. Use them up if you've got them. But if you have textiles to recycle, you can either take them to one of the boxes at the schools, or you can call contact Simple Recycling at simplerecycling.com and schedule a pickup.
Thank you, Mr. Sidney. Okay, the next item I have is public hearing on grant of location for West Street.
Shall I read?
Yes, please.
Public hearing notice. Town of Natick Select Board, grant of location West Street. In conformity with the requirements of Section 70, Chapter 164 of the General Laws, notice is hereby provided that the Select Board of Natick will conduct a public hearing on Wednesday, June 14th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at the request of NStar Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, for obtaining a grant of location to install one new pole, number 277/32, West Street, Natick, to install ASU, automatic sectionalizing unit equipment, in order to isolate problems and protect the system associated with the DG solar located at the high school. Plans are on file in the town administrator's office. The hearing will be held both in person and remotely. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter can participate in person or in the virtual meeting being held through Zoom. Login instructions will be published on the June 14th, 2023 Select Board agenda, and I move to open the public hearing.
I have a second. Awesome.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. That was opened by Mr. Sidney and seconded by Ms. Pope. All right. Questions, comments?
I believe we have a representative here from Eversource.
Yes, Mr.
508
Chair.
number.
Okay, thank you.
We have to vote, right? We have to vote to open it?
Yeah, sorry.
Ms. Cosby is actually on the Zoom call.
Okay, thank you, Joan. We did
You're
not actually take a vote yet, so all in favor of opening the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we're official.
I think you only made the motion and seconded it. and forgot to take the
Right, we didn't actually vote. Yeah. Dalton suspenders, I don't remember, so if we did it, it's extraneous. So it's life. All right. Any, so I'm not sure who to address this to, but the Eversource representative online, if you could walk us through any additional information you could provide.
No, we're just requesting a grant of location, excuse me, for the new pole 277 over 32 at West Street, Natick. And the purpose of the pole would be to, for us to be able to install that equipment, the automated sectionalizing unit. And that would be, that equipment, it serves to isolate problems and protect the system, especially the system that's associated with the DG solar down at the high school.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
There is a recommendation letter from the engineering department, DPW, in the packet to provide more context for anyone who's interested,
Okay. Yes.
and board members.
Did see that. Any further questions?
Yeah, I just want to, I recognize this, there's a couple of specific recommendations. Is it your expectation to meet those recommendations?
Yes, I don't know what the recommendations are.
So
I didn't see a copy of that.
yeah, they're suggesting that the pole be installed 5 feet from the back of the guardrail instead of 3 feet because of
Okay.
an old drain line in that area.
Okay. We can do that, yep.
Are there any other conditions? Because I missed that in my travels.
No, it's just the one modification. Because of an abandoned 24-inch RCP drain line, they want to move the pole an extra 2 feet back.
Okay. And typically, this is in coordination with the engineering department anyway, right?
Is that right, Jamie?
Saracen?
Correct, yes, that's why the engineering department is involved in it, yep, sorry.
So they're going to make sure that that's compliant. Okay.
And what was the abandoned? What was the abandoned line out there?
It says in the recommendation letter from our engineering department, there is an abandoned 24-inch RCP drain line in the location proposed for the new pole. Instead of the pole being installed
Okay.
3 feet behind the guardrail as shown on the plans, we recommend the pole be installed no less than 5 feet from the back of the guardrail to ensure that the old drain line is not encountered during the installation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move,
Thank you. Anyone from
Oh,
the
yeah.
public wishing to comment?
okay, I move approval of this grant of location with the caveat that
5 footer.
the 5 feet, of the 5 feet.
Okay. Do I have a second? Ms. Pope? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, 500. Let's move on to...
Do we need to close the public hearing?
Thank you.
Move to close.
Chair Evans,
Yes,
who was the second?
Ms. Pope.
Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot to repeat it.
Move to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Sidney, seconded by Mr. Joseph. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, 500. All right, now we can
Thank you.
move on to, thank you very much. Appreciate your
Thank you.
answers. Okay, now let's move on to the select board votes, item C, which is the bonds, et cetera. Over to Mr. Townsend.
Good evening. Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Good evening, members of the board. Mr. Town Administrator, John Townsend, Deputy Town Administrator and the Director of Finance. We are here this evening to approve a bond issue. If I may, Mr. Chair, so the arrangement of festivities for this evening. I'd first of all recommend that we do deal with the useful life vote. This is just a extension of the vote that you took earlier last month, I guess. We missed some projects, so therefore we need to do that. And then proceed on with the vote to approve the bond issue. And then I will walk you through each of the documents you're going to sign. Hopefully move fairly quickly through those, but happy to answer any questions that you may have with regards to that. Or if you just want to talk regularly regarding the whole process, happy to talk to anybody at a later time. So if I may, Mr. Chair, I would suggest that we proceed to the vote of the Select Board as a useful life. As we talked about last time, the board does set the useful life with regards to the projects. For the bond issue, this, of course, dictates what the length of the bonds are going to be. We do have 5 additional projects that we need to vote on this evening. I know, Mr. Sidney, do you have a copy of the vote, or do you need to?
I have a copy of the useful life that was in Novus. Is that the correct one?
I believe that's the correct one. We have 5 projects on it.
And I believe I have to read the whole thing.
Sadly, yes.
Deep breath. I, the clerk of the Select Board of the Town of Natick, Massachusetts, certify that a meeting of the board held June 14, 2023, of which meeting all members of the board were duly notified, and at which a quorum was present. The following vote was unanimously passed, all of which appears upon the official record of the board in my custody. Voted that the maximum useful life of the departmental equipment as described below is hereby determined pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7(1), to be as follows. Public safety radio amount is $1,730,000, voted at 2022 Fall Annual Town Meeting 15A3, with a maximum useful life of 10 years. Vehicle 203 LF3 dump truck, for $145,000, 22 Fall Annual Town Meeting 15A4, 7 years. Vehicle 206 LF6 hook lift truck, $265,000, 2022 Fall Annual Town Meeting 15A5, 7 years. Replace vehicle 402 H52 utility body pickup, $280,000, 2022 Fall Annual Town Meeting 15A6, 7 years. Replace vehicle 624 W13 skid steer, $150,000, 2022 Spring Annual Town Meeting 15D1, 7 years. I further certify that the vote was taken at a meeting open to the public, that the vote was not taken by secret ballot, that a notice stating the place, date, time, and agenda for the meeting, which agenda included the adoption of the above vote, was filed with the town clerk, and a copy thereof posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public at all hours in or on the municipal building that the office of the town clerk is located, or, if applicable, in accordance with an alternative method of notice prescribed or approved by the Attorney General as set forth in 940 CMR 29.03(2)B, at least 48 hours, not including Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, prior to the time of the meeting, and remained so posted at the time of the meeting, that no deliberations or decision in connection with the subject matter of this vote were taken in executive session, all in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 through 25, as amended.
Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Sidney.
Okay. Do we need a motion to
I so move.
adopt that? Okay. Mr. Sidney, do I have a second? No. Mr. Joseph?
Yep, second.
Thank you. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. That is approved. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just moving on to the main event, just a couple of comments with regards to the bond itself to tell you a little bit what you're voting on. So the town offered $13,305,000 of general obligation municipal purpose bonds for sale on June 12th. received 16 bids, which is a lot of bids for this sort of thing. Usually we get about 4 or 5. The winning bid was from Raymond James and Associates with a true interest cost of 13.100945%. An excellent interest rate on this, with a premium of $1,022,265.
Sorry, John, can you say that interest rate again?
Certainly, 3.100945%.
Great, thanks.
Premium $1,022,265. After cost and application of the net premium, the par value of the bond issue is $12,485,000. This is broken down by fund as follows: $5,547,200 for the general fund, $6,865,300 for the water and sewer fund, and $72,500 for golf. I would like to start off with, first of all, the vote. One of the reasons why I'd like to start off with the vote is, for the purposes of the vote, of course, is to authorize both yourselves as well as the treasurer and the town clerk to sign and seal the documents as we move forward on this. So basically, the vote will approve the sale of $12,485,000 general obligation municipal bonds dated June 21st, 2023. June 21st is going to be the closing date on the sale, at which time we will get our money, to Raymond James and Associates at the price of $13,434,441.60. This will ratify and adopt both the preliminary as well as the official statement. The official statement, the preliminary official statement are, of course, those documentations that we submit to the potential bidders that sort of give the financial conditions of the town as part of the sale. Once again, just mentioned, this authorizes the treasurer, the town clerk, the select board to execute the documents for the sale. So I would actually like Mr. Sidney to have you read from the actual vote, just to make sure that we have the right one.
Mr. Sidney.
Well, I have questions. Do I have to read the whole document?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, I have questions. Can we start with questions before we read this?
Sure. Absolutely. And that's true of anyone else.
Okay, thank you. So I'm looking at the general obligation, the certificate, Natick bonds document that you put into Novus.
Okay.
And it lists a bunch of bonds, and then the last 3 are 0. Can you explain what's going on there?
All right. Happy to. Fine. So those are the actual bonds. So the ones that are 0 value, we've actually paid off with the premium. So what happens is that, as you may have noticed, the par value actually is less than the actual issue value. And that's because, as part of the sale, the buyer offers a premium. The premium, by law, we have to apply to the projects that are being bonded in order to reduce the amount that we're going to borrow. And this also, of course, covers the costs associated with this. Of course, we have to pay the underwriter, we have to pay the financial advisor, we got to pay the legal counsel. A whole bunch of people need to be paid. So then the net amount of the premium, which was $981,902.60, was applied to the various projects. We sort of try to split it up proportionally with regards to water and sewer, general obligation, and the golf course. So the bonds are actually $0 bonds because they have to be issued as part of the entire package. But yes, they're $0.
Okay, well, thank you for the explanation. It wasn't.
helped.
That was helpful,
Yeah.
because I was confused by that. So those are my questions.
Okay. Get a drink of water first.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start reading in a second.
Just for clarity, it's the entirety of the 2 pages.
Yeah, I got to read.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, I got that part. Oh, I don't have to read the 3rd page? Oh, it's 2 copies of the 3rd.
2 copies.
Those are the copies that need to be signed, yep.
Okay. I, the clerk of the Select Board of the Town of Natick, Massachusetts, the town, certify that at a meeting of the board held June 14th, 2023, of which meeting all members of the board were duly notified and at which a quorum was present. The following votes were unanimously passed, all of which appear on the official record of the board in my custody. Voted that the sale of the $12,485,000 general obligation municipal purpose bond loan of 2023 bonds of the town dated June 21st, 2023, the bonds, to Raymond James and Associate, Inc., at the price of $13,434,441.60 and accrued interest, if any, is hereby approved and confirmed. The bonds shall be payable on November 15th of the years and in the principal amounts and bear interest at the respective rates as follows. 2023, $1,105,000, 5% interest rate. Year 2023, $395,000, 4% interest rate.
No, other way. Go down the column and then over. Right, you went 2023 to 2033. It goes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. It's two columns.
Yep.
2024, $1,075,000, 5%. 2025, $1,045,000, 5%. 2026, $1,025,000, 5%. 2027, $1,010,000, 5%. 2028, $870,000, 5%. 2029, $850,000, 5%. 2030, $690,000, 5%. 2031, $675,000, 5%. 2032, $670,000, 5%. 2033, $395,000, 4%. 2034, $395,000, 3%. 2035, $395,000, 3%. 2036, $395,000, 4%. 2037, $390,000, 4%. 2038, $300,000, 4%. 2039, $300,000, 4%. 2040, $300,000, 4%. 2041, $300,000, 4%. 2042, $300,000, 4%. Further voted that in connection, sorry, you're moving the Zoom thing is confusing me, John, sorry. Further voted that in connection with the marketing and sale of the bonds, the preparation and distribution of a notice of sale and preliminary official statement dated June 5th, 2023, and a final official statement dated June 12th, 2023, the official statement, each in such form as may be approved by the town treasurer, be and hereby are ratified, confirmed, approved, and adopted. Further voted that the bonds shall be subject to redemption at the option of the town upon such terms and conditions as are set forth in the official statement. Further voted that the town treasurer and the select board be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a continuing disclosure undertaking in compliance with SEC Rule 15C2-12 in such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the bonds for the benefit of the holders of the bonds from time to time. Further voted that we authorize and direct the town treasurer to establish post-issuance federal tax compliance procedures and continuing disclosure procedures in such forms as the town treasurer and bond counsel deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax-exempt status of the bonds and to comply with relevant security laws. Further voted that any certificates or documents related to the bonds, collectively the documents, may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original and all of which shall constitute one and the same document. Delivery of an executed counterpart of a signature page to a document by electronic mail in a PDF file or by other electronic transmission shall be as effective as delivery of a manually executed counterpart signature page to such document, and electronic signatures on any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purposes of the documents and all matters relating thereto having the same legal effect as original signatures. Further voted that each member of the select board, the town clerk, and the town treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, or other documents as may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes. I further certified that the votes were taken at a meeting open to the public, that no vote was taken by secret ballot, that a notice stating the place, time, date and time and agenda for the meeting, which agenda included the adoption of the above votes, was filed with the town clerk, and a copy thereof posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public at all hours in or on the municipal building, that the office of the town clerk is located, or, if applicable, in accordance with an alternative method of notice prescribed or approved by the Attorney General as set forth in 940 CMR 29.032B, at least 48 hours, not including Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, prior to the time of the meeting, and remain so posted at the time of the meeting, that no deliberations or decision in connection with the sale of the bonds were taken in executive session, all in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 through 25, as amended. So I've read that in, and I think we have to move like 5 different times, right? 5 or 7 different times. So I think the first motion is that the sale is hereby approved and confirmed.
Can you do the whole suite, or do you need each one?
You can do the whole, see if you
Yeah,
like.
And we can do the whole thing?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay,
That's the
I
name.
move this vote as read and printed.
Thank you.
Moved by Mr. Sidney. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Mr. Joseph, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Shall I just go ahead and sign?
Yes, please. And sign it, I believe it's twice.
And I don't have a copy of the useful life in paper.
Okay, let me get that for you.
Two of them, right? Diane, you want these?
No, I'll take them back, yeah.
John will root
Right
them.
there is good. Okay, at this time, just before I get started on the, going through the various documents you're going to be signing, I would just like to acknowledge that we do have with us Gloria Wong, who's in Zoom land there, who spent a lot of time, many hours on this particular project, and did an excellent job. Thank you, Gloria.
Agreed.
So I would like to start off with, first of all, the bonds themselves. Thanks to Mr. Sidney. Actually, we've already given half my spiel already. So just once again, these are, they'll be signing these. This is the actual bond that is being sold. There's actually 20 of them. So you can start limbering up your hand because there's going to be a lot of signing for this particular one. This does say the interest rate here is 5%. If you look through them, they actually sort of vary depending on the length of the actual bond. 4, I think it's maybe a 3 and a 5. That's the coupon rate of the bond. As I sort of mentioned previously, because of the premium that's being paid by the buyer, the total true interest rate cost to us actually is much lower, 3.119%. Also, it has the terms of the bond, redemption, the maturity date, and just sort of goes briefly into what the bond actually is. So that has to be signed by yourselves as well as
Treasurer, town clerk.
treasurer and town clerk, and the town seal to it as well. Next up, we do have the signature no litigation. And that would be this document right here, if you want to look at that. Certifies by the board members and the treasurer that they have signed the bonds, and the projects listed are funded by the bonds. And it has like a list of all the projects on that they're actually part of the bond series. So if you want to take a look at those and find out what's included in this, you can see that there. Town clerk certifies that the treasurer and the board members' signatures are real, and we all follow the open meeting laws and no changes to the bylaws. The treasurer certifies that there's no material misrepresentation of the documents. The issuance of this bond is within the debt limits of the town, and no adverse changes to the town's financial position since they were sold. Then everyone's going to sign that they have no financial interest in this particular bond issue, and there is no litigation regarding these bonds. Next up is the tax certificate. This is another large large document. As you probably know, that these are municipal bonds, and therefore they are tax exempt, the revenues on these particular bonds. So therefore, this is the document that sort of establishes for the IRS and bond council that these are indeed being used for governmental purposes, and therefore no taxes apply to it, since it is for government purposes, and there are no uses of these particular projects by individuals that are not available to the public. You also will certify that it's in compliance with all the tax regulations, reporting requirements, and record retention obligations. Of course, myself, as well as our financial advisors and Ms. Sherman, will make sure that those are all sort of done. And you're aware of and have a reasonable expectation that the use of the proceeds will be within the bounds of the arbitrage regulations. Actually, given the interest rates currently, we're not going to be having too many problems with that. And then, in addition, in the very back of this particular document, the appendix has all the documents with regards to the actual sale, all of the bids that were submitted, and that sort of paperwork. The next document up is Form 8038-G. This is the IRS form that Ms. Sherman, as the treasurer of the town, will fill out. It basically says that we issued a tax-exempt bond issue. And then finally, we'll be signing the continuing disclosure certificate. This certifies that the town will file its annual reports with a MSRB. That's something that the financial advisors, as well as my office, files with the MSRB, which is the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, which is part of the SEC, regarding this financial stability of the town. So those are the documents you're going to be signing. I have all the originals here. Happy to answer any questions that anyone might have at this particular point in time.
Any further questions from the board? I got to start the signing.
We can start the signing.
We're going to take about a 10-minute
10 minutes?
intermission here so that we can do all the signing. So we'll be off the air for that period of time, limbering up our hands. We are going to go back live for the few people who are still with us. Let us go on to get a update on item E, utility work update on Washington Ave and South Main Street. Over to John.
If John's still watching.
If he's still watching and hasn't taken a break.
Why don't I do the update on the safety committee
Yep, let's do that.
recommendation while we wait for John?
Makes more sense.
Oh, I just see him on Johnny.
Bruce, it looked like you might have turned, Mr. Chair, it looked like you might have turned this over to me, but
Yes.
I actually couldn't hear what you were saying.
Okay, I did. We're talking about
I guess this needs to
the
turn the-
utility work update on Washington Ave and South Main.
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, the volume wasn't coming through on this end. So just wanted to update the board on progress on South Main Street as well as Washington Ave. South Main Street is progressing as we had anticipated at the last update. Verizon is completing their work. They were out Tuesday evening of this week, and Thursday they'll be out tomorrow night completing their cutovers. And basically cutovers are what enables them to make the connections from the new wire to the homes themselves. So all of that work based on our update from Verizon should be completed on Thursday. Once the new wires are basically active, then the next task for Verizon would be to go back and remove the old wire from the poles. So they're anticipating that will take them a couple of weeks, but are planning to be wrapped up by the end of June. Based on our conversation yesterday with Eversource, they are planning on July 10th to mobilize, and barring everything going well with Verizon, Eversource should be out to be able to remove the poles on South Main Street. That will likely take 2 to 3 weeks, get us to the end of July, and then we can mobilize with our paving contractor to complete the work that's needed.
Excellent. Excellent.
In terms of Washington Ave, that's been a little bit of a slower process. Earlier this year, Eversource had to remove one of their major powers from one of the poles that required a controlled power outage, which has taken place. Following that work, the town of Natick actually had a number of wires on those poles that needed to be removed. That work has all been completed. Next to go would be RCN, Comcast, and Verizon in that order. We had a good call on Wednesday day? We had a good call on Tuesday with the utilities. Two of them had gone out to Washington Ave to confirm where their wires were on those poles, just to verify what was in the engine system itself. Sometimes there's been conflict with what is actually on the poles and what's in the engine system, so they did go out to verify that. Mr. Westerling, the new Public Works Director, and I are meeting with RCN on site on Friday.
Okay. Question. Thank you, John. Questions from the board?
Yeah, John, I always get Washington Ave and Washington Street confused, but Washington Ave goes from West Central over to Lake Street, right? That's the right road?
Yes.
There's, can you tell me about the steel plate that's about at the end of Summer Street that's in the road there? Do you know about that? There's a sign that says steel plate and road, and there's a steel plate right in the middle.
We'll have to look at that.
Okay.
We're not positive.
I'm just wondering why it's there, and I don't see anything happening, so.
I'll take a look at that.
Sorry. The location again that you're talking?
It's at the, I believe it's at the end, around the end of Summer Street, just between, you know, the bridge over the tracks.
Okay.
And,
Oh, so it's on this side of the tracks.
Before the bridge, I believe.
yeah,
This side meaning south of the tracks?
Right.
yeah, south of the tracks.
We can look at that.
Yeah, I'm just curious what it was, so, and I'm sure other people are too.
Yeah.
Especially since there's an orange sign there warning people.
I'll make sure to take a look at that on Friday with Mr. Westerling. I've honestly been up and down that road so many times that if it's been there for a little bit, it may have.
Blended.
Yeah,
Just
like I
vanish
said,
from my mind.
I'm just curious, and so that was pure personal curiosity.
Okay. Mr. Joseph.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall, thank you for the update. Just out of curiosity, so I understand the timeline for South Main Street. Paving contractors, probably August, based on the sort of 2 to 3 weeks after July 10th timeframe. Just out of curiosity, with the budding neighbors, any outstanding issues? And we've been dealing with a few people that still need some rocks removed, updates and all that stuff. So I know there's a couple of individuals. I don't want to get into specifics on at this moment, but just in general, is there a plan to kind of take care of all those punch list issues in terms of, I know there's like loaming, there's a rock to be removed.
Yep. Yeah, I suspect a lot of those things are part of, once we get the paving contractor back out there, they'd handle it as part of that process. Some of it we also just need to get final direction from some people on to make sure that we're doing it in a way that is approved and most appropriate.
So will there be outreach, or do we have a running list of who's owed what, or should there be a convening of neighbors? Like, would it be helpful to facilitate something in advance, to have a punch list put together, or do you have?
I suspect there's already a punch list together. We can check with Mr. Westerling and DPW about that and start doing some engagement if we need to. Assuming there might not already be engagement, there might already be a lot of engagement with some of those abutters that have those punch list items. Yep.
But given that, I know that with these things is sometimes that one abutter that wasn't engaged or whatever. I just want to make sure this has gone on for so long, and we're at the finish line. I don't want to leave anything to chance. I'd very much like to have communication with those neighbors at least one last time en masse, just to make sure that we're catching everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's agreed.
We have, Mr. Joseph, we have an internal conversation, some of the members of the Public Works team and administration. I believe it's scheduled for next week, now that we're kind of nearing our paving contractor getting back on site, just to go through those items. So I will absolutely make sure that is brought up with the team.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Jim, no?
Not on this side.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Marshall. That was a terrific update, and we will get back to you on that punch list, because I think Mr. Joseph's suggestion is great. Now that we've finally progressed to this stage. Let's not get stalled anywhere along the way. Okay. Thank you, John. Okay, last item, just scrolled all over the place, was the Safety Committee update.
Yeah, thank you. So this is specifically related to the Safety Committee recommendation from last meeting regarding Campus Drive. There was discussion at the last meeting, healthy discussion that led to further dialogue at the staff level. And I just want to report back because I don't have a recommendation yet. It's just provide you with context as to what's happening, and then also let you know that we'll be continuing to work through some of potential recommendations with the Safety Committee in the weeks and months ahead. So it might be on a altered timeline than maybe what was discussed at the last meeting. That's sort of the primary purpose of this. So after the meeting, I engaged with our new DPW director, John Westerling, as well as many people on the staff that help to staff the Safety Committee, as well as the Transportation Advisory Committee, and some other members of the public that were here that night at the meeting to get a better handle on the complete streets components of the project, the actual components of what's happening in the field, and try to get a fresh set of eyes with Mr. Westerling on it as well, to look at next steps. And the recommendation of the board was to remove the bike lane, of the Safety Committee, it was to remove the bike lane. We also had debate about the initial bringing forward of the bike lane and why it was brought forward through the Complete Streets program. So through that dialogue, Mr. Westerling reached out to members of the police department, members of the Safety Committee that were involved in some of the discussion, the designers of the original design, other members of staff to better understand what the intent was, and also come up with, the reality was that it was going to be very challenging for us to do any work between now and the end of the school year, so let's use this as an opportunity to sort of test pilot a few things, and so that's what we're doing now. What you might see if you go out there today is they're working, they have trimmed and they're working to continue to trim some of the brush that was covering some of the signs. They've actually put up a series of cones to further delineate the bike lane from the travel lane, just to see if that can be, something like that can be useful. They're not permanent, they're just literally several foot high cones, 5 of them, so they're not a ton of them. And then they're also gonna see and engage with the bus contractor to see how that turning movement works, as well as engineering to look at the bus movements, as well as the end of where it empties out on Pond Street. They also started to evaluate some of the suggestions that came back from board members individually to me to bring back, such as, can we switch the side of the bike lane, or can we do some other improvements up at that location? They're looking at all of those. I just want to provide the board with this update to let you know that we are working and making progress on this, and we're trying to evaluate all these options before the end of the school year so that we can get some field analysis in, and then have the summer to reevaluate and then implement before the beginning of the next school year, because it seems like the bulk of the conflict is happening at school dismissal time. So in theory, the summer should be less challenging driving up Campus Drive. So if you go out there today, for example, you'll see the cones. I was just there this morning and noticed the cones. And it does help to delineate a little bit more of the bike lane. We are curious how that will work with buses and during actual dismissal time. I was not there during actual dismissal time, but there are some observations being made during those times as well. So that's just an update. I'm happy to answer any questions, but or take feedback back to staff as we advance this. Just one other brief thing concurrent with this, I met with Chief Luzon, and I'm working, not Chief Luzon, Deputy Chief Luzon. Actually, I met with Chief Hicks and some other staff members just to talk through how to better, understand the role of the safety committee, understand the role of the transportation advisory committee, and then 2, improve communications between those committees. It's been one-on-one conversation so far. I want to actually schedule a meeting primarily with staff at this point, just to understand how the staff has viewed some of those committees, but then also bring in the stakeholders from those committees. In one case, we have a very staff-heavy committee. In the other case, we have a very volunteer-heavy committee. But in both cases, staff has helped to administer those committees at some point through the years. And so I just want to be able to get some of that information to bring it back to this board just for review and consideration. I'd also welcome this board to consider or think through how you want, what feedback you need. I mean, in theory, they're both advisory committees. The history of them can help inform how they move forward, but if there's a need that you have, or if there's a need that maybe they were intended to provide that is not there anymore, it would just be helpful to get some of that feedback from this group. Don't need that right now. I just want this board to think through that as we work to. I think it's worth examining those 2 committees in particular from their intents and their missions, and then also bring into account their communication between them, staff, and each other,
Right.
and the board.
All right, so we should channel any feedback on that issue just directly to you. Good.
Bring it to me, bring it to the chair of those boards, or talk to the chair of those boards, see what they feel their role is. That's what I'm going to be doing over the next couple weeks, days and weeks ahead.
Thank you for that.
Great idea.
Absolutely.
Good. Awesome. Good update. Okay, we are now on to the consent agenda. You have your breath back, Mr. Sidney?
Yeah. Consent agenda. Item A, approve meeting minutes, January 25th, 2023, February 4th, 2023, May 24th, 2023. Item B, approve proclamations for recent awards presented by Temple Israel of Natick. Carol Khan received Bernie Sigloff Yasad Award for public service and dedication to Jewish community life. Harvey Leonard Moskowitz, the Maurice and Lillian Geschelin Humanitarian Award. Item C, approve DMSC sports request to occupy a public way on Sunday, October 1st, 2023, to host the 2023 Jimmy Fund Walk. Item D, accept the resignation of Tony Lista from the Down Governance Study Committee. Item E, reappoint Sheila Adams to the Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund Committee. Item F, reappoint Elaine Ostroff to the Commission on Disability. Item G, reappoint Sandra Downer to Recreation and Parks Committee. Item H, reappoint Joel Barrera to the Cochituate Rail Trail Advisory Committee. Item I, Procurement Officer Award Contracts. Award PFAS Water Testing Service. Award Willow Street PCB Remediation Services. Award Renewal Extension Elevator Testing Maintenance Services. Award Roadway Improvements 2023 MDOT Pre-Qualified. Item J, authorize chair to sign a letter to legislature to support equitable regional transit funding in FY24. Item K, approve request from Morse Institute Library to hang a banner for Banned Books Week from October 2 to 8, 2023. And item L, approve one-day liquor license for AmVets for June 17, 2023. Anybody want to pull anything?
Just point of order, we received an update from Deputy Chief in terms of recommendations for the MVets one day. Is it presumed that that's part of this motion, or do we need to pull it out to put that?
It was added to Nova's agenda, and it was an update from Deputy Chief Lazon that he believes that the AmVets will be compliant with a couple minor tweaks and movements of signs.
Right, so we don't need to modify the what's in there to reflect that.
It didn't change. It didn't seem to change the
I don't think it changed the.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it just clarified it.
Okay.
I also did a drive-by for the meeting before I was a little late, and they able to put the additional fencing.
Your mic's not on.
Yeah.
I did a drive-by just before the meeting. The additional fencing that he requested is up, and the additional signage.
Great.
So they just need to call him back to do a final walkthrough.
I'll walk through.
Thank you, then I'm fine.
Okay, I move the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Moved by Mr. Sidney and seconded by Ms. Pope. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Okay. Town administrator notes. Anything additional, Jamie?
Nothing additional. We did a lot of updates during the discussion and decision, so
Yeah.
that's where we are.
Sure did. Okay. Yes, we're trying to get out of here. Any select board concerns people want to raise? Oh, we did that earlier, too. Yes,
I just
ma'am.
have one question. Do we have any additional information on how the Select Board office hours is being publicized, other than here?
So I did talk to Joan about that, and she was working with our communications person to work on additional avenues. There was also discussion, well, Monday we talked about the function of them, but there was this, she was working with Jay to try to improve the communications. They are noted on the website, it's just a matter of them further posting them. I guess one question I have for you is the frequency of posting the office hours. Is it when they're about to happen, or just here's when they're happening? Or
I think the suggestion of adding them to the meeting calendar is a low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
If the Select Board has money in its budget that it needs to spend before the end of the month, we could spend $2,400 and have it publicized in the Natick Report every week, which is what they do with Wellesley.
Okay.
I can send you that link from Mrs. Brown. I forgot her first name, I apologize. Deborah.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else?
One last question.
Yes.
How long is the Veteran Services Director, Mr. Cruz' contract? Is that a 3-year or one?
3.
3-year, okay. Thanks. That's all for me.
Anything else? I assume we have no correspondence, Mr. Erickson?
Not that was requested to add to the agenda.
Okay. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
That is moved by Ms. Pope, seconded by Mr. Sidney. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed can stay up till 11 o'clock, but we won't be here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.